The Detroit man accused of killing his ex-wife inside the hospital will stand trial.
The shooting leaving people across Metro Detroit fearing for the worst at what should be a place of healing.
August 22, 2025. Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit. A place built to save lives. On this day, it became a crime scene. Latricia Brown had worked there for over 20 years. She knew the corridors, the basement levels, the back stairwells. She arrived that morning like she had thousands of times before. Clocked in. Greeted co-workers. Started her shift. But someone else arrived that morning too. Someone who knew her schedule. Someone who had been watching. Someone who had been told, by law, to stay away. Latricia had gone to court twice. She had asked for protection. She had done everything right. The system had responded. But not fast enough. By the time the paperwork was ready, it was too late. This is the story of what happens when legal protection exists only on paper, and violence moves faster than bureaucracy. Henry Ford Hospital sits on West Grand Boulevard in Detroit, Michigan. It is one of the most recognized medical centers in the state. Over 900 beds. Multiple towers. Thousands of employees. Millions of patient visits every year. It is a place people go to be saved. On August 22, 2025, that expectation was shattered. Hospitals are structured environments. Security protocols exist. Badge access controls entry points. Cameras monitor hallways. Staff are trained to respond to medical emergencies, not active violence. The assumption is that danger comes from illness or accident, not intent. That assumption left a gap. And in that gap, someone moved freely. This crime did not happen in a dark alley. It did not happen in an isolated parking lot late at night. It happened inside a hospital, during work hours, in a building full of people who were supposed to be safe. The victim was not a stranger. She was an employee. Someone who had walked those halls for more than 2 decades. Someone who knew the layout better than most. Someone who had no reason to believe that her workplace would become the site of her death. But the person who killed her also knew the building. He had been there before. He knew where she worked. He knew her schedule. And on that Thursday morning, he walked in unchallenged. This was not random. This was not spontaneous. This was planned. Everything that happened that day had been building for months. Latricia Brown was 48 years old. She was a lifelong Detroit resident. She had deep ties to the city, to her family, to her community. She was not transient. She was not disconnected. She lived a structured, predictable life. Those who knew her described her as calm, reserved, dependable. She was not someone who sought attention or drama. She moved through her days with consistency. Co-workers trusted her. Supervisors relied on her. She was the kind of person who showed up, did her job, and went home. Latricia had worked at Henry Ford Hospital for over 20 years. More than 2 decades in the same institution. That kind of tenure builds familiarity. It builds routine. It also builds a sense of security. She knew the building inside and out. She knew which elevators were fastest. She knew which stairwells were quieter. She knew where to park, where to eat lunch, where to take breaks. The hospital was not just her workplace. It was a second home. Her daily routine rarely changed. She arrived at the same time most days. She worked in the same area. She followed the same paths through the building. Predictability gave her comfort. It also made her vulnerable. Latricia was not someone who expected violence. Her work environment was not dangerous. Her job did not involve risk. She was surrounded by people. She was inside a secure facility. There was no reason to believe she was in danger. But danger does not always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from someone who knows exactly where you will be. Latricia had been married. Her ex-husband's name was Mario Green. The details of their relationship are not fully public, but the pattern is clear. Marriages do not always end cleanly. Some relationships leave scars that do not heal. Some separations do not result in mutual distance. Some ex-partners do not accept the word no. Mario Green and Latricia Brown's marriage ended. But for Green, that ending was not final. He did not move on. He did not accept her independence. He did not respect her decision to leave. In relationships where one person seeks control, separation is not seen as a natural conclusion. It is seen as a loss of power. And for some people, that loss is intolerable. The early signs of trouble are often subtle. Possessiveness disguised as care. Monitoring framed as concern. Repeated contact that feels less like affection and more like surveillance. Friends and family later recalled that Green had difficulty letting go. He wanted access to Latricia even after the relationship ended. He wanted to know where she was, what she was doing, who she was with. These behaviors are not love. They are control. As the separation solidified, Green's behavior escalated. He did not fade into the background. He became more present, more insistent, more intrusive. Latricia began to feel afraid.
How we get to Mr. Green as being the shooter, or that he was stalking, or that he was there without consent.
Latricia didn't deserve what happened to her at all. And our prayer is that no one else, no other family has to go through what we went through, and that Latricia's words will be received and heard and justice will be served.
Green's next court date is December 26th. Outside 36th District Court, Darren Cunningham, 7 News Detroit.
Darren, thank
It's the beginning of justice for us.
Deonda and Dia Eastley tell me they left court feeling overwhelmed with new information regarding their cousin Latricia Brown's death on top of facing her alleged
For us.
Deonda and Dia Eastley tell me they left court feeling overwhelmed with new information regarding their cousin Latricia Brown's death on top of facing her alleged killer. Deonda and Dia Eastley tell me they left court feeling overwhelmed with new information regarding their cousin Latricia Brown's death on top of facing her alleged killer, Mario Green. Brown divorced Green in 2018. Detroit police say the 53-year-old killed their cousin Latricia Brown's death on top of facing her alleged killer, Mario Green. Brown divorced Green in 2018. Detroit police say the 53-year-old killed his ex-wife when he showed up to her job at Henry Ford Hospital, August. Mario Green. Brown divorced Green in 2018. Detroit police say the 53-year-old killed his ex-wife when he showed up to her job at Henry Ford Hospital August 22nd. On the stand, one of her coworkers recalled Green's interaction with the victim seconds before the shooting.
Do you recall the nature of the conversation between Mario and Trish?
He was just asking her questions like, oh, I need help with a bill. Can you come out to the hall? And she was working and answering his questions.
What happens next after you hear their conversation?
I heard a gunshot.
Brown's coworker, who says she didn't see where the shot came from, called 911.
Where was Trish?
In the room with me, on the floor dead.
Coincidentally, the officer in charge of the case, Isaac Lamas, testified that he happened to be at the hospital already.
I was investigating a homicide that happened a couple hours prior.
Lamas says he started searching the building for the suspect, but by then, Green had already left. Green shouldn't have been there in the first place. The 40-year-old victim had filed multiple personal protection
Latricia
orders.
did not suffer in silence. She sought help. She turned to the legal system. She did exactly what victims of stalking are told to do. She filed for a personal protection order, a PPO. A PPO is a court order that prohibits one person from contacting or coming near another. It is a legal tool designed to create distance between a victim and an abuser. On paper, it provides protection. In practice, it depends on enforcement. Latricia's first attempt to obtain a PPO was denied. The court did not grant her request. The reasons for the denial are not entirely clear, but denials happen for many reasons. Sometimes the evidence is deemed insufficient. Sometimes the threat is not considered imminent enough. Sometimes the legal standard is simply not met. Whatever the reason, Latricia was told no. She was sent back into her life without the protection she sought. But she did not give up. She filed again. This time, the PPO was approved. The court agreed that there was sufficient cause. The order was issued. On paper, Mario Green was now legally required to stay away from Latricia Brown. But there was a problem. The PPO was never served. A protection order is only effective if the subject of that order knows it exists. Legal service, physically delivering the document to the person it names, is a required step. Until that happens, the order is not enforceable. Latricia's PPO was approved, but it was not served to Mario Green. He was never officially notified. He was never told that a legal boundary had been established. This is not an uncommon problem. Service delays happen for many reasons. The person cannot be located. They avoid contact. The paperwork sits in a queue. Bureaucracy moves slowly. But danger does not wait for paperwork. Latricia believed she had protection. She believed the system had responded. She believed that a legal barrier now stood between her and the man who was stalking her. She was wrong. Green did not know about the PPO. He had not been told to stay away. And so he continued as before. Watching. Tracking. Waiting. Latricia's fear did not go away. but she may have felt a small measure of relief. She had done everything right. She had gone to court. She had been granted protection. Surely that meant something. It did mean something. But it did not mean she was safe. Thursday morning, Latricia arrived at Henry Ford Hospital for her shift. It was a routine day. She clocked in. She greeted co-workers. She began her work. There was no indication that this day would be different. No alarm. No warning. Just another shift in a building she had worked in for over 20 years. But Mario Green also arrived that morning. He entered the hospital. He was not stopped. He was not questioned. He moved through the building as if he had every right to be there. Hospitals are public spaces in many ways. Visitors come and go. Family members visit patients. Deliveries are made. Contractors perform maintenance. Not everyone who enters is a patient or employee. Security exists, but it is not foolproof. Badge access controls certain areas, but not all. Cameras record, but they do not prevent. Green knew where Latricia worked. He knew her schedule. He knew the layout. He navigated the building with purpose. He made his way to the basement level. Basements in large buildings like hospitals are different from upper floors. They are less visible. Fewer people pass through. Foot traffic is limited. Sounds do not carry as easily. These are the spaces where violence can occur without immediate discovery. It is not clear whether Green chose the basement intentionally or if circumstances led him there. What is clear is that isolation mattered. Latricia was in the basement. Green found her there. There was no drawn-out confrontation. No loud argument. No spectacle. Whatever words were exchanged were brief. Green produced a firearm. He fired multiple shots. Latricia Brown was killed. The shots echoed in the enclosed space, but they did not immediately draw attention. In a hospital basement, sounds are muffled. People on upper floors may not hear. Staff in nearby areas may not immediately recognize what they heard. By the time anyone realized what had happened, it was over. Latricia did not survive. There was no chance for intervention. No opportunity for medical staff to save her. She was dead within moments. Mario Green left the basement. He exited the hospital. He fled the scene. Panic spread through the hospital once the shooting was discovered. Staff who moments earlier had been focused on patient care were now reacting to violence in their workplace. Lockdown protocols were activated. Doors were secured. Staff and patients were told to shelter in place. Confusion reigned. Law enforcement arrived within minutes. Officers flooded the building. They secured the scene. They began searching for the shooter. But Green was already gone. The basement, which moments earlier had been just another section of the hospital, was now a crime scene. Police tape went up. Evidence markers were placed. Investigators began their work. Latricia's body remained where she had fallen. Co-workers who had seen her that morning now processed the reality that she was dead. This was not a medical emergency. This was murder. Mario Green fled the hospital in a vehicle. He did not go far. Within hours, the vehicle was located. It had been abandoned. A manhunt began. Detroit police, with assistance from surrounding agencies, began searching for Green. His photograph was circulated. Tips were gathered. Resources were deployed. Green was not hiding effectively. He was not a skilled fugitive. He was a man who had just committed murder and was now trying to avoid capture. The next day, August 23rd, Mario Green was arrested. He did not resist. There was no dramatic confrontation. He was taken into custody without incident. The manhunt was over. But the legal process was just beginning. Mario Green was charged with first-degree murder. This is the most serious homicide charge in Michigan law. It requires proof of premeditation, that the killing was planned in advance. The evidence supported this charge. Green had stalked Latricia. He had tracked her movements. He had entered her workplace. He had brought a firearm. He had found her in a secluded location. He had killed her. This was not a crime of passion. This was not a spontaneous act. This was execution. Green was also charged with stalking. This charge reflected his behavior in the months leading up to the murder. The repeated contact. The unwanted appearances. The surveillance. Additional charges included firearm violations, possession during the commission of a felony, discharge of a weapon in a public building. Each charge carried significant penalties. Together, they painted a clear picture of intent. Preliminary hearings were held. Prosecutors presented evidence. Witness testimony was introduced. Security footage from the hospital was reviewed. The case against Mario Green was strong. There was no ambiguity, no question of identity, no dispute over what had happened. Green's defense attorneys did not argue innocence. They did not challenge the facts. Their focus shifted to procedural matters. Motions were filed. Legal technicalities were addressed. But the central fact remained unchanged. Mario Green had killed Latricia Brown. The case moved toward trial. Green remained in custody. No bond was granted. In the days following the murder, another arrest was made. An individual was charged as an accessory after the fact. This person allegedly assisted Green after the shooting. The details of this assistance are not fully public. It may have involved transportation. It may have involved hiding evidence. It may have involved providing shelter during the brief period before Green's arrest. Accessory charges exist because post-crime assistance can hinder investigations and delay justice. Those who help criminals evade capture share legal responsibility. This additional charge indicated that Green did not act entirely alone after the murder. Someone knew what he had done and chose to help him anyway. Latricia's family was devastated. Grief mixed with anger. Sadness mixed with frustration. They had watched Latricia try to protect herself. They had seen her fear. They had supported her decision to seek a protection order. And they had watched the system fail her. Family members spoke publicly about the ignored warnings. They emphasized that Latricia had done everything right. She had reported the stalking. She had gone to court. She had been granted protection. But that protection had never been enforced. The PPO that was supposed to keep Green away had never been served. He had never been told to stay away. The legal barrier existed only on paper. And Latricia had paid for that failure with her life. Her family did not want sympathy. They wanted accountability. Henry Ford Hospital issued statements expressing condolences. Memorials were held. Co-workers mourned. But questions arose about security. How had Green entered the building so easily? Why had no one stopped him? What protocols existed to prevent workplace violence? The hospital announced security reviews. Policies were reassessed. Additional measures were considered. But no security system can fully prevent targeted violence. When someone is determined to harm a specific person, and that person must continue living their life, vulnerability is inevitable. Latricia could not have stopped going to work. She could not have hidden forever. She had responsibilities. She had bills. She had a life. And the man who killed her knew that. The case drew national attention. News outlets covered the story. Domestic violence advocates spoke out. The focus shifted to the broader issue of protection order enforcement. How many other victims had been granted PPOs that were never served? How many people believed they were protected when they were not? The delay between approval and service created a dangerous gap. Victims assumed they were safe. Abusers were never notified. Violence occurred in the space between. Latricia's death became part of a larger conversation about systemic failure. Protection orders are designed to save lives, but their effectiveness depends on enforcement. Approval without service is meaningless. A court order that exists only on paper does not stop violence. Latricia believed she had protection. She believed the system had responded. She believed a legal boundary had been established. But Mario Green never received that notification. He did not know a PPO existed. He continued stalking her without consequence. The system responded too slowly. The paperwork moved through bureaucratic channels while danger remained immediate. And by the time the order was ready to be served, Latricia was already dead. Latricia Brown followed legal channels. She reported her stalker. She filed for protection. She did everything victims are told to do. The court agreed she needed protection. The PPO was approved. But the system moved too slowly. The gap between approval and enforcement became lethal. Mario Green is now in custody. He faces first-degree murder charges. He will likely spend the rest of his life in prison. But Latricia is still dead. Her family still grieves. Her co-workers still mourn. Her children still grow up without their mother. And the question remains, could this have been prevented? The answer is yes. If the PPO had been served immediately, if Green had been notified and held accountable, if the system had moved as quickly as the danger, yes, this could have been prevented. Latricia Brown was 48 years old when she was killed. She worked at Henry Ford Hospital for over 20 years. She was a mother, a sister, a daughter, a co-worker. She did everything right. She sought help. She went to court. She was granted protection. But protection that exists only on paper does not stop bullets. Mario Green has been charged. The legal process continues. Justice will be pursued. But justice cannot bring Latricia back. This case is not unique. Every year, victims seek protection orders. Every year, delays occur. Every year, people die in the gap between approval and enforcement. The system is designed to protect. But it only works if it moves faster than violence. Latricia Brown's death proves that it did not. If this case revealed something important to you, share this video. The more people who understand how protection orders can fail, the more pressure exists to fix the system. If you or someone you know is experiencing stalking or domestic violence, contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. They provide confidential support 24 hours a day. For more cases that examine how the system fails victims, subscribe to this channel. These stories need to be told. These failures need to be documented. And the people we've lost deserve to be remembered.